Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who've been hanging with me some time, and welcome to those of you who are new to my channel. I'm Adele Levine, intuitive and medium. Okay, so I'm smiling because this is going to be a little bit of an interesting one. I've wanted to do this subject for some time, and if you follow me on here and on my podcast, Peering into the Narrow Room, I say a saying all the time: follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice. And that's a little teaser of what this one is going to be about. However, before I get started, I want to let everybody know that coming up on the 20th, I'm going to be doing a medium gallery. I think there's very few tickets left for that, but I'm also going to be doing a crystal class, how to work with energy with crystals. This is going to be a really cool class online. Also, I am offering 50% off my readings with the code PEACE. Not much longer, probably for another month or maybe a little bit after a month, but really probably only for another month and a half. So go ahead and utilize that while you can. I've been trying to help people through this year the best I can. All right, let's get started. All right. This was an appropriate mug. I know I've used it before, but down the rabbit hole. We got to be careful about which rabbit holes we are going down. So this video is about spiritual cults. Now, you notice I'm not saying religious cults, because that's a whole nother topic, and you can let me know if you'd like me to cover that. But I'm talking today about spiritual cults. Yeah. That's correct. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it in this way, and what I mean by that is spirituality and how it can move into a cult-like status, or as they say in other parts of the world, status. Status? This is my attempt, I think, of an English accent. Yeah, so this is kind of more what I'm talking about, because I have noticed a pretty good trend, not just recently, but definitely over the years of me doing this work, that there is a big problem with spirituality moving into a cult-like way. It can happen even here online. I've seen some of them online. If you have seen these or experienced, please share in the comments below if you've gone through this experience. I'm going to share a little story of mine. I'll get to that in a minute. It'll be story time with Adela, a little short one of something that happened to me in this way. But spiritual cults, I feel happens when people are very open to everything that's going on inside of them. Meaning, like, you're having an awakening, you're feeling like, I want to know the answers, I'm open, my heart's open, my mind's open, and you're ready to like see what's out there and open to other people's ideas, and even trusting that spiritual people, and like I keep saying, not religious, because I feel like religious people, you recognize kind of quickly, like okay, here's this Bible, or here's this prophet that we're following. It tends to be recognized. I'm not saying always, but I'm saying for people who are spiritual, who are going, I want to see alternatively what's out there, what's the alternative to religion. And that's what I feel tends to trap people. It's when you are someone who understands an organized religion, but you're kind of just being open to whatever. So let me explain, because I want this to be really clear. So let's say you're in an awakening place and you're saying, I'm open to all kinds of new ways of thinking, spirits, aliens, I'm open to other dimensions, I'm open to all different types of ideas, and I'm willing to hear from all different types of people. It's not necessarily a walk of life, you know what I mean? So like a religion cult would be selling you on a way of life. Like, you need to walk this path, and if you walk this path and you go through these steps, you will then reach this higher level and closer to God, or a Zen type of idea of living. It is a very close, tie, but I feel spiritual cults can happen when you're not looking. Like, it can happen to you when you're not aware. So let's say you're just Googling and you're looking for information. When spiritual teachers who are seers, or who are people who are healers, or people who are talking about a new way of opening the mind and the chakras and all this type of stuff, sneak in this idea of, I have all of the answers, so therefore you should listen to me. That is what I'm talking about when I say spiritual cult. And if you're someone who's saying, oh, I'm being open-minded, I'm listening to new ways of ideas, that we have energy, we have chakras, maybe there's other dimensions, maybe there's other beings, and that is all wonderful. You should do all of these things. However, spiritual teachers are supposed to, I believe, hand you the key, give you some information, and go, listen, figure it out. I'm just going to tell you the little bit I know. Someone else may tell you a little bit that they know, and you're going to have to discern for yourself. It is hard when you're a spiritual teacher and seer and such, and you really feel like, oh my gosh, I feel really strong about certain things, and I see people kind of going in a certain direction, and you want to save them, come back, don't go that way. But then you have to be careful, because you can be guilty of it. I'm talking about my position as being a teacher in this and a reader and all of those things. I have to be careful of going like this to try to save people. I'm feeling like it's saving them, but that could come across and that could turn into, oh no, you're telling people what to do. So what I'm saying is, a spiritual teacher should always be checking themselves and not go down that path. You could say, listen, this is what I found to be true. This is what I've come to understand to be true for me. You're going to have to figure it out. It is tempting, I know, to want to feel like you found someone who's just going to tell you everything you need to know and hand it to you on a silver platter. And all you need to do is, eat it up, and therefore you are now knowledgeable of all. I know that's tempting. And it's even tempting to follow things and follow steps A through Z and say, oh my gosh, if I follow these steps, I too will reach this place. People ask this question all the time. What do I need to do? And I'm saying to you, one of the ways to make sure you don't fall into following someone in the sense of you're only doing it their way is if someone is presenting to you, this is the only way to do it. It should be like a nice little cauldron. Cauldron? Can we get a cauldron here? Or you can just see it as a pot of any sort. And you are pouring a little bit of this, a little bit of that. This person, from that person, from ancient ways, from interesting things that you find. I mean, your spiritual seasoning in your cauldron could even be, oh, I found that if I lay down on rocks outside in the desert, I feel like this, and it brings this spiritual this to me. The main thing you got to understand is what works for one does not work for all. It just doesn't. We're all uniquely built, just like our thumbprints, our fingerprints. We are uniquely built inside. Our spirits are different. How we see the world and how we take things in is so unique to us all. So to tell people, if you follow this way, this is what you'll achieve. How can you really do that? If we all learn differently, some people learn audibly, they just hear stuff and it sticks. Some people learn by reading something and it sticks. Some people have to touch and do it themselves, pick up the object and work with it, or even have a pencil in hand and they have to write it out. And maybe they're using all of those senses to really have something, sit with them. If we all are seeing the world and learning in a different way, we all are going to learn spirituality in a different way, meaning we are spiritually going to connect in very different ways. So I feel that these spiritual cults that I see that pop up online, that pop up in real life, just popping up anywhere, and people tend to kind of do the same technique, which is talk in a way that just sounds like amazing, right? Here's all the answers. I'm going to lead you this way. They kind of put themselves a little bit on, a pedestal, probably not meaning to at first, but then get used to the idea of people coming to them for all the answers and never really kind of say, you need to look for the answers inside yourself. And once again, I'm going to talk about Star Wars. I've played out Yoda, so let's go with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was very similar. When you're teaching someone, you show them, you give them the tools, and they have to work on it themselves. So always be aware that when you are opening, because a lot of people are opening up right now, which is why I wanted to do this video at this time. People are awakening, they're seeking. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But what's happening is that I see a lot of people are looking for utopia. And there is another flag. When someone is promising you utopia, that everything's going to be wonderful and okay, this is a flag, because here's the deal. We are not meant, spirituality is not the idea that we are going to be removed from life and have a beautiful utopia experience. That promise is people who are believing they don't need to be of this world. In other words, they want to go to home, what I call home, where we all come from, where we all return, and they are selling the idea that we can have that on earth. Meaning, like, if we all just kind of give up all of us, all of our identity, we can too choose the idea of utopia. But you must follow the way that I'm showing you to achieve it. It is okay to be sad, to be angry, to go through emotions, for things to not be perfect, to not feel that Zen thing all the time. We are here to have the human experience. We're here to feel the rocky terrain, to feel the things that are difficult for us. I believe, this is just my belief, and I feel that when people are promising these things, of course that sounds wonderful. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to feel like maybe we could all get along, maybe we could all work together? Of course, but we're all working on that. We're evolving every day to become people who are more conscious and trying to become more aware of each other. But we are human, and we have ego, and we have vanity, and we have insecurities, and we have fear, and we have pain. That's because we are human. So be careful of the empty promise of the idea, because that is what leads people to believe, oh, maybe I'm just living my life shallow, and I'm not living my life true, and I'm not truly trying to be spiritual. I should give up everything, and I should dedicate myself to this spiritual utopia life. Okay, so I promised you a story. Way back when I started my spiritual path, I was very, very open. When I kind of came to this awakening of my abilities, and also feeling like, okay, there is something else in this world besides what we think we know. I was very open, and I was in the Bay Area. And when I was in the Bay Area, a van pulled up. I know it sounds sketchy, but it was like it wasn't like it had windows and everything like that. And some people got out of it, and they were like, oh, because I guess they thought, since I wasn't blonde and blue-eyed, they were like, oh, do you want to meet people of all different, cultures and backgrounds, where we all get together? And here I am, this young, 22-year-old. Sure, that sounds great. And I get in. I know. And I was in that very open place of be trusting and open your heart, Adela. and also intuitively, I thought I felt it was okay. I went and we went along this little ride, very short ride, get out, go into this, place that pretty much just looked like an upstairs, downstairs, kind of like an upstairs, like a townhome, basically. And they asked me to take my shoes off, and there was a bunch of shoes, and I was like, okay. And I go upstairs. I know. You're like, okay, you're like, Adela. I know you're screaming at me. I hear you. And I go upstairs and they take us into this room that had a video. And honestly, everything was all peacefully and zen-y in the space and everything. And we sit down and then they start this movie about utopia. Don't you always want to have this peaceful place where we could all get along, yada, yada, yada. I immediately had red flags from a couple of past experiences of running into this, growing up in a cult-like religion, and I just saw right through it. So I just was anxious to get out of there. Lights go down, we go out, and I see, and this is where my antennas got sharper and sharper and sharper. I see people kind of eyeing each other, almost like they're being watched. It literally felt like all of a sudden it went from utopia to a car salesman. These people kind of came over to me, two of them, and this seemed on purpose, asking me, don't I want to improve myself and blah, 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 that whole thing. And I knew to just say no. By the way, if this ever happens to you, not that you're going to get into a van, but if people pressure you into it, because that's one of the things, is they're playing on your wanting to evolve and your wanting to be open, and that's a wonderful thing. But someone who's coming from a true place say, well, when you feel like it, or if that's something you want to do, and even that can be tricky, just do whatever. This is just there and whatever. Never call you again. They never email you. They don't like pressure. There's no pressure. And it remains that way. In other words, some of these spiritual type of things will up the ante. First, it starts with yoga. Now they're telling you have to do 2 yogas. You know what I'm saying? If they're always like, you need to do more if you really want to, be this amazing person. So they were pressuring me, and I said, no. And they said, well, can we ask why? I said, I don't need to share why. That's the other thing. Don't give any information about you, because if you do that, they find something to latch onto. So anyway, bottom line is, I quickly went downstairs. They followed me to my shoes, kept asking me, don't you want to leave now? As I'm leaving, I'm seeing people with backpacks on that are going with them. And I'm literally going, oh my God, I want to burn this person's face into my head, because this person may be gone forever. I just had such bad feelings. And I said, no, I don't. They wanted me to go that night to this utopia. Of course, it would cost only $400, which, by the way, is almost exactly what I had on me, because I was moving the next day. So I go out and they follow me out. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. And they finally gave up. I called someone I knew and I told them my experience, and they were like, those are the Moonies. You almost got swept away by the Moonies, and we would have probably never seen you again. Yeah. So one thing I learned is that when people are open-hearted and they want to have these experiences, yes, that is what they'll use. They will use that against you because you've already kind of expressed it. And that is why you just don't give that away when you feel something's off. Just say, no, I don't need to share anything. We start to feel like guilty. I'm not really being open. I'm not really being evolved. I'm not really being spiritual. Really, spirituality, or someone who's trying to give you something spiritual, is like, listen, I'm going to give you this, take it or leave it. Do what you want. This is my belief. Hey, I'm going to give you a reading. Let me read you, and then you can figure it out later. Whatever you want. You want to take a class, whatever you want. Take it or leave it should be the energy you're feeling, not making you feel like you aren't truly looking for enlightenment if you aren't doing A through Z. So I hope that helped. I hope that was a little entertaining. Please let me know again. Put in the comments any experiences. Again, this helps us all bond and us not feel alone. And I'm happy to answer and I'm sure we've all have stories. Thank you guys so much. Just want to remind you, like, check out my podcast. I did have the Bigfoot Collectors Club on there, and you might enjoy. My last podcast was with the Bigfoot Collectors Club podcast. They came on, and you might enjoy that. Thank you guys so much. Follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice, and I'll see you soon.